Coronavirus. The best way to avoid work unless the boss has Zoom. Where are you, Charlie? You haven't logged in and it's nearly 7. Good morning, everyone. This is J.L. Martinez, co-founder and creative director of Your Miami Media and Film Market. Before we get started, I just wanted to emphasize that our health and well-being, physical, mental, and spiritual, are very important. And I bring you this monologue knowing we are in the midst of an historic vote to pass an extraordinary aid package for the American people. Now, a lot of what I'm about to say can be said for many industries, especially all you gig workers out there. But this message just happens to be about one in particular. And yes, I am reading from a teleprompter with children in the house. We are living in unprecedented times where the coronavirus health pandemic has also caused a serious financial catastrophe. And no one is quite sure anymore what to do or what to make of it. People are trying to help, or at least they say they are. Insert motivating hashtag. And yes, many federal, state, and local government-sponsored safeguards are being put into place to help alleviate many, but definitely not all of us afflicted by the crisis. I've read several stories, given all the time we now have to quarantine and obsess over these things, about how entertainment industry professionals have been left out of any potential help, particularly from the public sector, minus a couple of nice reps from districts who happen to represent Hollywood studios. Looking at you, Burbank. Because quite frankly, by and large, most governments, institutions, and people, especially you social media trolls, may not understand what we do or how we do it, or how incredibly important it is. Going back to the private sector, yes, there have been some major media employers and tech companies who have offered to help with resources and funding. Just one major streamer alone offered a $100 million emergency relief fund to help those freelancers who were already scheduled to work on upcoming productions. Others, mostly in the FTE full-time employee bracket, have been asked where possible to work from home, while still others have been more eager to cut their losses and run. Not naming names here. Now, of course, some of what I am saying, again, does apply to other industries, but I am here to focus on some of the unique attributes and prejudices particular to the entertainment industry, the show business. See, part of the problem is our industry is made up of a whole lot of freelancers. And like our southern friends like to say, freedom ain't free. Well, neither is freelancing. Ultimately, those of us in show business have been forced to either fend for ourselves, as we've seen with our current crop of talented young late-night talk show hosts like Jimmy Fallon, Trevor Noah, and of course John Oliver, who have had to essentially retool their own shows. Even with all their charm and self-deprecation, it's no easy task, and some might say, considering the growth of digital media, an unexpected opportunity. But still, a way of making the proverbial lemonade out of those lemons. These stars of our industry still have had to deal with limited crews, technical support, and family. I mean, part of the reason people get into show business is to get out of the house. And yes, I'm looking at you, the bearded kid in mom's basement dreaming of being a roadie. Go get it. It can still happen. Post-social distancing, of course. So essentially, these folks, for better or worse, are being left to their own devices as a means of survival, and perhaps showing members of our tribe that it can be done and that the show must go on. And the show must go on. But how? And with what resources? It may be easier for creatives to continue their great work with limited resources and support because their innate talent can carry them through anything, including the fires of isolated hell on earth. They do this even without some of the polish our productions are known for, and that frankly many of our unsung crew members actually create. That said, it's these very same crew members who have existed only, or at least mostly, in supporting these same talents which have had to find their own way recently. These are individuals who, like many of the talented creative folks I mentioned, have had to work their way up from the very bottom, regardless of social, economic, or other advantages, as either low-paid, read no-paid, assistants, apprentices, and interns. Please reference no paid assistant. Making very little in the hopes of growing into their own and ultimately making a decent, or even a God willing, better than decent living. Doing what they know, but more importantly, what they love. But how can they survive in the current crisis? What options exist when you're used to making more than what the government considers the maximum it can support, but less than what the average salary of a major star is? Whose talent fees, by the way, are incorrectly looked at as the norm for the entire industry. We need to understand that these everyday, blue-collar, unsung crew members represent the vast majority of the entertainment industry and are often overlooked for working in what is often considered a very glitzy industry. Where the streets are paved with gold, everybody has $1 million car, house, and or spouse. And yes, we need support from our government at all levels. We need support from the private sector, including the major media companies themselves. And we need support from caring individuals and ourselves, just to make it through these uncertain, trying times. And we need this support because we all depend on this industry in a unique and too often overlooked way. And yes, we need to remain optimistic and have that entrepreneurial spirit and passion that allowed us to break into this industry in the first place. And yes, we need to work together, help each other, and beat the odds. Much like we need to beat the virus itself. We need to lobby, we need to ask for help when we need it, and we absolutely need to remain motivated and positive, in spite of the overwhelming odds. Because more than anything, it's in our DNA. That's how we got here in the first place. And that is how we're going to stay here in the long run. Because ultimately, the movies, the series, and the content we create, or what I like to call the honey from the hive, is so incredibly necessary, especially in these challenging times, that nothing else should even be considered an option, especially failure. So let's all do our part, and maybe, just maybe, our part will win that big award after all. So hooray for Hollywood, Godspeed, and may the force be with you. I'm J.L. Martinez, and I'll see you on the next one.